Hi, Adam.
Hi, Rick.
How are you doing?
I am good. How are you? I think there might be some people coming to yell at MPD today.
I'm sorry.
I think there might be, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. You faded out there for a second.
I think there might be some people coming to yell at MPD today.
Okay. Well, if MPD shows up, I mean, I told you that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Paul Johnson is going to be late because there's a ANC3B meeting the same night, and since it's full ANC, he's going to start out there. What's the issue folks are going to raise?
I, you should be good.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Advisory Neighborhood Commission 3C's Public Safety Committee meeting for the month of November. Welcome, and we have just started recording the meeting as we do for all committee meetings and ANC meetings. Unlike an ANC meeting, however, at this committee, no decisions are made, but it is an opportunity for the community to participate, to ask detailed questions and provide additional input. Um, Tonight, we're going to take the agenda a little bit out of order. Normally, we begin with an update and report from the Metropolitan Police Department. Lieutenant Johnson, who normally updates us, is double booked this evening. He's also presenting at ANC3B, the full commission. So he's going to get started there, and then we'll be joining our meeting in progress. So I ask your forbearance as we change the order of agenda. I'm joined by co-chair Adam Prinzo. And Adam, again, why don't we take the next item on the agenda? And would you like to kick
Sure,
off on that?
no problem. So we have two other agenda items today. One is a discussion and a possible resolution. Oh, I lost the agenda. Oh, here it is. On Councilmember Parker's from Ward 5, he introduced the 16 bill package of legislation called Care for the Youth DC. And it's targeted, I'm going to put it in the chat right now. There's a target for just various different youth programs in the city. And possibly trying to fix some issues with youth affairs in the city before it spirals out of control. There was a hearing, a roundtable today on some of the CFSA, Child and Family Services, and DYRS, the Department of Youth Rehabilitative Services bills on here. We at this committee have, a pretty interesting remit when it comes to not just public safety, but also public safety in the eyes of preventative measures. So I figured it would be interesting to talk about this and see what people's thoughts are. I can talk about it a little more if you want, or if anybody has any comments that they want to start with.
So, Commissioner Prinzo, I also saw that Councilmember Pinto had, who's always pretty active in the public safety space, had held a public roundtable and introduced some legislation on an emergency basis related to juvenile issues. Does the legislation that's on our agenda interact with Council Member Pinto's proposals at all, or are they totally separate?
So so the next thing on our agenda is the Councilmember Pinto package.
Okay, sorry. Sorry to
They
get ahead.
don't, no, you're totally fine. They don't, so Councilmember Pinto's package is more having to do with law enforcement, whereas this has more to do with trying to get people before, Lieutenant Johnson is here. I don't know if you want to take him first, or you're muted. Rick, you're muted.
Or let's let him in and then we can pivot to Lieutenant Johnson.
Okay. Lieutenant Johnson, not to put you on the spot, but if you would like to go, you're up.
Yeah, we appreciate that you're double booked tonight and have been presenting with 3C. So really appreciate your joining us, and we're happy to give you the floor so that you can get back to the rest of your day.
Hey, thank you 3C for having me. I'm Lieutenant Johnson from the 2nd District PSA 204, which includes part of 2C. All right, this month, 2C, look like crime is down by 12 crimes. We have no Part 1 offenses to report, no robberies, no sexual assaults, no ADW guns or any kind of serious assaults. We did have 3 theft from autos in 2C, 23 thefts, and 1 motor vehicle theft. Also, this is the time of year, the holidays, where package thefts pick up and theft from autos also increase. So we encourage everyone, if you can, use the Amazon lockers. We have one attached to the 2nd District. You're welcome to use. Also, I believe the Whole Foods has Amazon lockers, and you can find them around the city. And also, when you park your cars, make sure you don't leave anything visible that criminals might want to take advantage of, like the laptops. We had a couple of smash and grabs lately where they smashed the windows and took book bags containing laptops and personal properties from vehicles. So please be vigilant and try to keep things out of plain view. Not even a car charger. You can hide that before you get out the car, even hide the car charger. They take small things also. So any questions from the community, any concerns about traffic, anything someone want to bring to my attention while I'm here on a meeting with everyone? You start with the commissioners if you like.
Sure. Well, thanks very much. I'll lead off. And to your point about leaving things in the car, I know sometimes there will be thefts from auto with just over loose change. And now that the penny is no longer going to be made, maybe people will be taking pennies. Lieutenant Johnson, do you see any among the crimes that you just noted? Are there any concentrations or patterns that suggest to you that any are related, or are they happening in certain areas more than others within the PSAs that are within our ANC area?
The thefts, as you know, there's a pattern of thefts for the CVSs. The CVSs are a popular location for criminals go in and take, personal items like soaps, dishwashing detergents, anything they get their hands on, deodorants. So those have been increasing, but our crime suppression team has been focusing on them and doing different operations inside of CVSs, and they've been making arrests lately in the CVSs for theft.
Okay. And just a related question to that, on the prosecution side, are you seeing the U.S. Attorney's Office changing at all how it is approaching repeated thefts, say from CVS and from other locations, or is about the same enforcement stance as before?
Well, I believe the DC code changed to make that if you have more than 2 thefts, it's an enhanced penalty.
Really?
So yeah. I'm sorry. If someone had a question?
No, it's more than 2 thefts from a youth, does it matter the age, and how young is that prosecutorial posture?
Well, juveniles, as you know, in the District of Columbia are different. They have something called diversion. for theft, depending on how much it is. It all depends on how much the value is. If it's something small, under $1,000, I think the first time they can get diverted, adults don't have that. So juvenile law and adults are different.
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no problem. With a question at any time.
Courtney,
All right.
I also will say that juveniles in DC get prosecuted through the local attorney general and not the U.S. attorney.
Yeah,
I
general
thank
counsel.
you for, yeah, thank you. About my traffic concern is now a time because I was just coming home and crossing Connecticut Avenue at where the Kennedy Warren is. And that's still, I think it is an accident. It's a tragedy waiting to happen. So many people run those lights and they'll run the light and they'll be in between the driveway for the Kennedy Warren and the crosswalk. And then somebody will from behind them will go around the car that stopped and not blocking the crosswalk and run through the crosswalk to just get. It's so bad. There's not been a night that I have crossed when the traffic is heavy that people aren't running it. And it forces the pedestrians to go in between, let alone people on motorized vehicles driving on the sidewalks. So I had two of those pass me tonight, and then crossing the street, I had to weave in between traffic just to get over to the corner of Devonshire and Connecticut.
Okay, but the Kenny Warren, I think it's 3133 Connecticut, I believe. Something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
It's right past the zoo.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's the address.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll add that to our traffic plan. All right. You get that McElwee. I don't know everybody's familiar with MP Officer McElwee. He's awesome. We'll put that on his radar.
Thank you. It concerns me. People have dogs, a lot of dogs, and older people, some with sensory deprivation. It's just extremely dangerous, and I don't know how we've avoided a major tragedy thus far, but it's asking to be done. I don't hear so well in my left ear, and the motorbike passed me on my left side. And if they said something to me, I didn't hear it. So
Oh, good.
yeah.
Sometimes you don't hear what they gotta say.
I would just add something to that since I live here at the Kennedy Warren. I've witnessed 3 car accidents that have taken place at the exit from our garage onto Connecticut Avenue. And one of them was really quite serious with a car landing on top of another car. And
that one.
Pardon?
I have a photo of that one.
Yeah,
That was crazy.
I have a photo of that one too. But I also, there really have been 3 that I happened to have been by. So I'm sure that there have been additional ones. And I mean, we've raised the issue. The mayor's office has even come out and looked at what's going on. We've counted how many cars blow through the light at certain periods of time. There are always quite a lot of them.
Yes.
It is dangerous. And of course, that's not even the Devonshire crossing, place where people are constantly worried about cars that turn right from Connecticut onto Devonshire heading south and just really nearly clip people and such. I don't know what the police can do or what the role of the police is in that traffic adjudication and monitoring and such. But yeah, it's been going on for years.
Well, our role is we can increase enforcement in the area, but you can also log on the DDOT's website and request like traffic controls, like the red light cameras, the speed bumps. They won't take suggestions from the police, but citizens can take your input to request traffic controls at that location. And the red light cameras do help. No one wants to get one of those tickets. They're very high in DC, as you know.
Oh yeah.
I know firsthand myself.
It's a priority intersection on the Connecticut Avenue multimodal traffic safety improvement light plan, whatever it is now. It's just we haven't heard an update from DDOT on that for a while. So maybe we can get the Safe Sustainable Transportation Committee
We're actually
co-chairs.
meeting in a couple of weeks. So
Well, if we can get an update from DDOT on their implementation of the elements of that plan. I mean, there was a woman that was killed about 7 or 10 years ago in that intersection. So it has.
it is kind of a shame that they won't take suggestions from MPD, because you would figure, besides like ordinary citizens, MPD are probably walking those streets or driving those streets.
Well,
just as often.
MPD's responding to the carnage of the car crashes.
That too.
And having to do traffic control as they're collecting the car bits from the trees. Like, it's absolutely crazy what.
Yeah, when you meet with them, please ask them to take our suggestions.
I mean, it just would make sense, because you would think that, like, DDOT's not out, and no shade to DDOT, and this isn't the Transportation Committee, but DDOT's not out on the Connecticut Avenue as often as the 2D officers are. So you would assume that, like, if MPD is saying, hey, this might be a problematic intersection, like, they would take that with some heft.
Yeah.
Because I don't think 2D's officers' time is best spent going and grabbing the bumper from the middle of the street and dragging it to the side of the road. I just think, Lieutenant Johnson, your officers' times and talents are needed elsewhere.
Yeah, but it's part of our job description, though. So.
That's fair.
Well,
Yeah.
Commissioner Higgins is exactly right. And when we meet with DDOT, we'll underscore that, you know, the recommendations from MPD should be taken pretty seriously. You know, my impression is, if you look back at these past 5 years, I mean, for MPD's focus, I mean, first it was getting through COVID, and then, you know, putting a lot of concerted effort in getting crime down, which it spiked, you know, during that period and in its aftermath. And we appreciate all the efforts to really move things in a good direction there. And we realize that MPD is, you know, historically they're understaffed today compared to, you know, historically. Appreciate the efforts locally. I do hope that the chief, as MPD builds back up, is able to put more resources on enforcement on aggressive driving. It seems that, you know, some of the aggressive driving that we saw coming out of the pandemic has not abated, even as traffic has increased. And you know, road improvements, signals, things like that are important. But, you know, it's not just Connecticut Avenue. On 34th Street, I've seen drivers use that center turn lane as a passing lane, sometimes to go for a couple of blocks. I've seen them go through two or three lights at speed, you know, against red lights. So, you know, enforcement's the other side of the coin. Realize, again, most of the focus has to be on other kinds of crime, but I'm hoping that department-wide, you know, we'll see even more emphasis on going after the most aggressive of the aggressive drivers.
I personally think a red light camera would take care of a lot of that stuff at that intersection. I think that would be very effective deterrent over time.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question and then a comment. I guess I'll do my comment first. To your point about the Amazon lockers, there is a building in my SMD on Calvert Street. I forgot which one it is. I will figure it out. That is opening their Amazon locker to just anybody from now until January, I think they said 10th. So you can also send it to an Amazon locker there, just because I know, like, the Whole Foods in Town is a little bit out of the way for people in Wildy Park sometimes. Although I guess there is the Whole Foods in Glover Park. My other question, though, just quickly to Rick's point, I mean, there is like on 24th Street, there is a lot of, I don't know what MPD's role is in traffic enforcement. My understanding was there really wasn't a role.
No, we do enforce traffic, sir. We
okay.
Yeah,
because like if someone's like speeding aggressively, like you can pull them over.
Yeah, if they pull over, but we don't pursue.
You know, right?
vehicles,
Okay.
right, for traffic.
Because
Just for
I will say that 24th Street, as you're going onto Rock Creek Park,
Mhm.
you could get a lot of Marylanders over there.
Yeah, but I
Someone
understand.
tried to kill me.
I think our pursuit policy is about to change. I think it's going to be a little bit looser, but I don't think it's going to include traffic though. But we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. But other than that, I don't have any other questions.
I have a question. Oh, Janelle, please.
No,
Yeah.
Kathy, go ahead first.
Thank you for being here. And the question I have is, it relates to a roundtable that was held like last week or so, which covered social services to residents of some of the buildings along, actually all of DC, but there was considerable discussion of buildings along Connecticut Avenue, multifamily buildings, and residents who are owed social services. But the purpose of the roundtable was to discuss whether people are or are not getting those services for any reason. And one of the things that I didn't watch that much of it. I watched some, and I heard enough to hear that that some of the difficulties we've heard about for years can continue in terms of difficulties that property managers have in maintaining a peaceful community and such. One of the things that came out of it was that the Department of Behavioral Health is going to have some kind of a hotline that will be available for, I think they said 8 or 10 of the buildings on Connecticut Avenue. And I was just wondering if MPD is aware of that, or if you could give us any additional information on the call frequency that you're getting with the buildings that are in this area.
Mhm.
And that I think you're probably familiar with buildings that have a history of difficulties, and whether it's up or down, or whether you're seeing a difference in the type of crime. And we obviously have had tragic crimes in the area, including deaths of children and such. So I was wondering if you could talk a little about that.
Well, I don't have any stats to give you in reference to those, but those are mainly domestic situations that go on inside of people's homes. And domestic violence occurs. It's not something that we report on because it involves families and it's people's personal lives involved. But the domestic situations do increase during this time of year also, and during the holidays. But saw at the Department of Behavioral Health, they do have a hotline number.
That's what they said. They announced that they would have, or maybe do already have, a hotline that would be
I will
serving
drop it in the
these.
chat.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
good.
yeah.
Good. Adam's all over it. That's great. And
Mhm.
I do have some confusion about the domestic violence issues, because there was somebody up at Van Ness in one of the buildings up there. I think it might have been 3003. Is that the building that people would know? There was a stabbing there that was a domestic stabbing, and there was discussion at another ANC meeting about that incident, and it seemed that it was not reported as an incident. So the question that came up in that meeting was, well, does MPD actually report those incidents, or do they go without being reported because they took place behind somebody's closed door with people living in the household?
Well, the domestic stabbing, a ADW knife will get reported regardless if domestic or not. Any kind of stabbing or shooting, those are part one offenses. We report those. But someone might have got cut or stabbed, it might, or maybe they didn't get. Sometimes people get stories wrong and it wasn't really a stabbing. But if it was a stabbing, it definitely would go on our DC crime cards. Would be a report. Stab that part one offense would be first, and the domestic would be secondary, like offense.
Thank you. Are there more questions or comments? I know Lieutenant Johnson, you have several meetings tonight.
Janelle had her hand raised too.
I have a question. I feel like at the last get together of this group, we were told that MPD was not cooperating very much with ICE and having ICE ride along in MPD marked cars. I'm hearing, and some of this has been reported on the news, and I'm hearing this from other ANC commissioners, not necessarily in 2D, but in 3D, I believe specifically, is that ICE is riding along with MPD officers.
Well, I work in the second district. You know, I don't work in the third district or any other.
So, I'm asking if 2D is having ICE officers ride in.
I haven't. They shouldn't be. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it at 2D. I haven't seen it myself.
Okay.
Because our orders state that we don't cooperate with ICE, our general orders, and I don't think that's changed. So.
Okay. Yeah. No. I know what you guys told us last time. I was just wondering if anything had changed from the general orders, that like wasn't relayed, to others.
Our general orders are public. That you can find them on our public website. You can.
Okay.
Yep. If they change, they should be updated on the public website also. But I haven't seen any changes, haven't heard any change. That would be a big change that we'd have to know about, have to tell us. And I haven't seen any changes.
Okay. Is there a mechanism for reporting if a citizen does witness ICE riding in an MPD car and like disappearing people?
Well, you can always call 911.
Happened in Adams Morgan. I'm not on Monday of last, and it's just I have a lot of respect for the work that MPD has done in the community to build up trust and respect over the years, and I just hate to see that all being taken away. Like with this, I don't think that's fair to you guys at all, seeing like all the work that you've done, and I'm just hoping like some people had this all wrong, but it's pretty detailed. So I'm just wondering, like, who do we ask?
If you see something like that going on, you can always call 911 while it's going on, and they'll send an official out to investigate. But like you say, we don't have a lot of authority over what the federal partners do.
Okay.
So we don't. They have their own officials and reporting mechanisms if you see something going wrong with ICE or any federal agencies, the CIA, the ATF, Secret Service, but they're all different agencies than the MPD.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand that.
May I make a comment, like how difficult it would be for a person to witness that, not knowing if the police are working in cooperation with ICE, to then call 911. It kind of it makes you feel like it would put a target on your back, like you were being like a snitch, not a snitch, but probably like outing a police officer doing what they have to do or feel like they should do or have been ordered to do. I don't know how that would be effective in protecting the person who might have been captured and taken away. I don't.
At the end of the day, Courtney,
Yeah.
MPD is a DC taxpayer-funded agency.
Yep.
It's your tax dollars. So if you feel like you're witnessing something that is wrong, call 911. I believe you could also go to police complaints board. If DC law is that MPD is not to work with ICE, or they are allowed to work with, I forget if it's they are allowed in limited capacities or they're not allowed to at all. Because that, I will say, that guidance from the mayor's office has not been clear.
Yeah.
But a little nebulous. Like I can't tell.
But
I bet the order expired. The one that the chief had, I think that expired after.
Okay, so then it's back to they can't work at all. If you see MPD, I mean, if you see ICE in an MPD cruiser and there's no MPD around, your tax dollars bought that MPD cruiser. So call 911 because as far as I'm concerned, they stole that MPD cruiser.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I understand what you're saying, but as a DC resident, you do have the police complaints board, you do have 911, you know, it is your tax dollars.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Some days they don't wear uniforms, so you might have a question. Always call 911 because you might not know that they're the police and they're doing police type stuff. You're not sure. We also have an anonymous tip line that you can also use is 50411. It's a pound with a hashtag 50411. It's anonymous tip line.
50411.
Yep, with that little pound sign or hashtag in the front.
That's a text line, right?
Yeah, text tip, anonymous text
Yeah,
tip. Supposed to be anonymous text tip.
Adam, can you throw that in? I can't.
I can put it in. Let me see if
Oh,
I can get
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
That's helpful. Thank you. I didn't
Yeah.
know that was a thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Thank
put
you.
it in. I'll put it in right now and get in my chat. Mhm. Yep. Uh-oh. Says chat disabled.
Oh,
Is it chat?
it'll
Is it,
go to Adam. You're still the host, so if you send it to Adam, he can send it to the rest of us.
okay, I'll send it to him.
Yeah, I don't know. The DC government changes this like every week.
Okay, I think I can get it to you yet.
I didn't get anything. Am I still the host?
Yeah, I didn't make myself the host when I joined.
I didn't get anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's pound 50411.
Yeah,
Okay.
We'll get there.
that should be it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's anonymous tip line. The anonymous tip line, and that's live. They should be reading that right away as soon as they get it.
Okay. Are there any more questions or comments for Lieutenant Johnson?
I do want to thank you for everything that you do in 2D.
Yeah, thank
Uh,
you.
Great.
I appreciate y'all. And everyone be
I saw
safe.
Lieutenant Johnson at Stoddard Elementary School a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, "You're from 3C, right?"
Oh yeah, I know who you are, sir.
Yeah.
Have a good memory.
Yeah, I see Haskins at the Chipotle on Connecticut Avenue all the time, and I think sometimes he gets scared that I see him there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he eats healthy,
Yeah.
as you see.
And congratulations at the police officers dinner, like a lot of awards. It was a really successful acknowledgement of all that everybody does. So that was really nice.
Oh, that's a great event at the Maggiano's.
Yeah, it was lovely. Absolutely lovely. So good on all of you.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Lieutenant Johnson.
All right, I had to hit
Appreciate it.
2D right now. Anybody have anything else before I go to work?
Thank you again, sir.
I appreciate y'all. See you
Okay.
next month.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. But yes, Courtney, if you do see that, do go to police complaints.
We disseminate that information so that people feel comfortable to do it, because I'm pondering that guy who was screaming a Udemy, and that was just like a horror film watching him get arrested because he got stopped by MPD for driving on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And then he was handed over to ICE, and it just looked like cooperation. So it just, I don't.
Listen, I hear you. There's also council. Council has the oversight of MPD. And if council so chooses to hold said oversight hearings, you can always call your council members.
Councilmember Nadeau held the hearing though, because
Yes,
Councilmember
correct.
Hill refused to.
Correct.
So it was human rights violations, and that's why she did it through her committee. And then the mayor said silly season, and that essentially Councilmember Nadeau shouldn't have done it because reason.
So does anybody know what happened to that guy at all? Is there any way?
I don't. I think I read somewhere that Mark Seagraves was trying to track it down. I think he got a statement from DHS, not DC DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, that he was an illegal migrant with a final order of removal, and as such, they acted upon it. I believe that is what they issued. I don't remember for certain though.
This is the one from Minnesota Avenue and Naylor Road Southeast.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
That wasn't even the one I was talking about.
Oh, Lord.
Mentioning things. Yeah.
So a Filipina woman was stopped. Her first name is Jennifer and her last name is like Mendoza. And she was stopped and questioned. She's a US citizen and got so scared. I hear that the detention centers are little shops of horror, that people are just being abused and neglected. And there's got to be a better way to protect our community in some way. I just don't know how. I don't know how to get around this. It's not good. It's just not good. I mean, for all the stories that we see on the news, there are lots of interactions that are traumatizing that don't make it to the level of news on people. And Jennifer's one of them. I mean, she didn't get arrested, but she got questioned and humiliated, and now she's afraid. So
I was on an all ANC call a couple months ago at this point with Councilmember Robert White, where people said that they are terrified to call 911 because they don't know who's going to respond.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's unfortunate because, like Janelle said, MPD has spent the last 50 years, which is longer than I've been around, building community policing and building relationships in these communities that in 5 minutes came crashing down.
And I mean, 50 years might be a bit longer than what I'm.
It's straight up. It's been 5. It's not
right, because I remember when undercover police officers out of uniform were killed by their own co-workers, and there's a memorial in Logan Circle to one man in particular that I did have an acquaintance with. There was a lot, but they have been assiduously profiling as part of the community, and I appreciate those efforts, and I would hate for it to go backwards. But right now there's a nebulous connection with what's going on with ICE right now. And now the National Guard's has been extended even further. It's got a lot of community members that may be targets on edge.
Well, then also extending that curfew writ large to juveniles, and the time frame of it is not great.
I'm torn between the curfew because I know a lot of young people are not doing, things that they aren't supposed to do, and they might have responsibilities that take them outside the boundaries of those hours. But at the same time, it is so frustrating because it only takes one major incident to push that effort back to the forefront. And those teenagers that attacked the Doge employee, they were not even DC teenagers. They were from Maryland, and we pay the price. Like so there's no real justice in these punitive arrangements. But then what else could be done to keep like a huge cohort of malfeasance from descending upon a neighborhood and creating havoc? I mean, that's like a fun thing to do for people. That is like, man, and that was so cool. And we came in, and I mean, that's just their source of entertainment now. And I don't know, I haven't heard any other possible feasible solutions to countering what young people think is funny right now.
So to that point, we can
Yeah.
take our agenda a little further out of order. The
No,
third
I'm
thing on our
sorry.
agenda was the juvenile curfew and Councilmember Brooke Pinto's slate of legislation. She obviously, with the mayor, authored the juvenile curfew extension, which did pass. There is another hearing on the juvenile curfew coming up, I believe, in December. That is for a permanent extension of the juvenile curfew. This is a temporary. She also has two bills, one that I will throw in the chat right now. If anybody saw how many tabs I had open, you'd be freaked out. This one is B26132, Expanding Community Access to Safe and Clean Recreational Spaces Amendment Act of 2025. This will require DPR to work with DCPS to make sure that communities have access to clean recreational facilities in every ward on weekends and evenings outside of the normal operational hours in which these facilities are usually active, as long as they are not during school hours and/or other student activities. That is scheduled for a hearing on December 3rd with Council Member Louis George's Facilities Committee. And then the other bill that she has, I just saw it today, so give me a second. Sorry, this is not Brooke Pinto's bill. This is Councilmember Allen. The Department of Parks and Recreation's Hours Expansion Amendment Act of 2025. This will expand recreational hours of DPR facilities. This would expand, the regular operating hours of all facilities managed and operated by the Department of Public Parks and Recreations. I don't know where I got works from. So these two bills plus the juvenile curfew, to Mitchell's point earlier, is part of Brooke Pinto's semi-package, because this is a Charles Allen bill, but she did co-sponsor it with him, to give young people an alternative place to go. I attended the roundtable on the juvenile curfew, was unaware that there are some times where DPR facilities are offline on the weekends, and they're also offline sometimes for extended period of time for renovations or whatever reason, and there's no replacement made available. So I think Councilmember Pinto's position on this is, if you give the young people a place to go, they might go, like in the spirit of late night hype and all of that. So I'm open to hearing people's thoughts on it. I mean, I am more than willing to draft a resolution in support of expanding access for recreational facilities. Commissioner Paggett.
Well, make it make sense. So you're going to tell the kids that there's a curfew and you can't go anywhere, but you're extending the hours to the places that they can go, but they're going to get in trouble if they go there. Like, what?
I don't disagree with you on that. I will say there is a caveat on the juvenile curfew for if you have employment, you are allowed to be in the curfew zone as long as you are going to or coming home from work. A little tricky, because I will say in the same hearing, the chief of police and the deputy mayor for public safety and justice, Lindsay Appiah, were asked by, I want to say it was either Councilmember Pinto or Councilmember Henderson, whether or not they could commit to federal agents not enforcing the juvenile curfew zone, and they said no. So I do want to keep that in people's minds, but there are caveats for the curfew. I don't disagree with you, though. Make it make sense, because you're telling people they can come to these rec centers, but if the rec center so happens to be in an extended zone, or even if it's, I believe the curfew is 11 p.m.
But if your house is in the extended curfew zone. Like this happened, there's this story in, I forget which WTOP, doesn't matter what news source, where this kid was getting off the Navy Yard Metro, and like the MPD told him he had to go to Waterfront and walk home from there, even though his house was right by that metro station, but he needed to circumvent that.
Uh,
Um,
my gosh, that's terrible.
and other kids his age were like being like let to go past these officers, but he was not, and his mom had to come get him.
Even though his house was in the curfew and they wouldn't let him go home?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. And he was just like having dinner. It was like 9:15 at night when he was just trying to go home, and he just finished dinner. He wasn't like up to no good.
No, yeah.
My other question is, has anybody asked some of the kids that they've been gathering up and questioning and arresting if that would be a feasible alternative? Do they want and will they go, or can they make that part of their agreement that if they are picked up doing something that they were doing like on at the Navy Yard, if they agree to go to these rec centers, is that something that can I mean, what's the follow through? It's nice to present something and say, this is what you can do instead of, wilding with people or whatever. But
You,
are they going to go? Do they want to go?
To your point, Courtney. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
you don't get arrested
I
if
was
you're
going to say
violating
that.
curfew unless you're doing something wrong. Your parent just has to come pick you up. But the issue is a lot of these kids are getting up to no good because they don't have a safe home that they want to stay at, right?
Right. Right.
Like it's like uh, that's not a feasible solution to have a parent who the kid like,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
there are underlying problems here that aren't simply solved by saying the parent needs to come reclaim their child. So it's a very deep and complicated issue, and I think saying like kids can't be out after 6 p.m. isn't a one size fits all solution.
Think with
Acknowledging there's a problem,
I
right?
do want to say, I did ask somebody from the mayor's office or somebody from DPMSJ or DMPSJ if they would like to come and speak about the curfew today. They declined my invitation. But they did send me this lovely little thing here, which I will say that they would activate juvenile curfew zones this past summer in conjunction with what they're calling late night hype, which was a late night activity event at a DPR facility located near a curfew zone, however, outside of an extended curfew zone. They were extremely successful. There was multiple participants, at least 50 to 100 kids participated in the one that this person from DMPSJ sent me about. And it usually ends with them being escorted either to a public transportation as a way to get home, or their parents coming to retrieve them from the DPR facility. That is what they sent me. I will say that. But oh, sorry, Emily, I did not see your hand raised.
Yeah, I've just been listening to the discussion, and I first wanted to thank Courtney for her caring and her initiatives. I think it's really outstanding. The second thing is, I think there's a youth commission, is there not? And couldn't youth commission be informed of many of the points that Courtney and all of you have been making, and have a thoroughgoing, quick but comprehensive study of what is going on and make an overall plan for this. I think we need to add to that mentoring of the children, Big Brother program, after school support to ensure the children stay in school and have appropriate tutoring, and a number of other activities that could be brought together to make sure that there would be opportunities for them for growth and development during the late afternoon and evening hours. I just feel that we need a holistic approach to this. It's not just one rule here or one rule there, but really good planning. And I don't hear the good planning. I think that's what we're all suffering from. And when you add to it the issue of all the different law enforcement agencies, shall we call them that are operative now in town, it's very difficult. But perhaps we could mobilize through your good works the Youth Commission to take a comprehensive, holistic approach to this.
Not a bad idea.
Thank you, Emily.
I mean, I don't necessarily agree with blanket saying people can't be out after 6 p.m. I think that that's a problem in and of itself, because I feel like you're criminalizing people for being young.
Right.
And I will say that not all young people are doing bad. There are certain young people that go out and have jobs and go to school and do good. So I think my issue with the permanent extension to the curfew is, if it's not partnered with something, what's the point? Is I guess my 2 cents on that, if that makes sense. Is there any other comments? Okay. So do we think it's worth it? Maybe we drop the curfew portion and say, send a letter on the 2 bills about access to recreation facilities, or do we think we hold off? I mean, we could also rope in the youth commission into that letter and say, like, maybe they should be planning events at these facilities. I'm open to ideas.
I like the holding events at the facilities, like something to be attractive, to bring it up the interest,
Right.
even just like discussions or like poetry readings, or I don't know. I mean, that was big for me when I was younger. And it was popular in DC about 20 or so years ago. Anything where they can express themselves or come together or create something, I think would be a worthwhile sort of activity themed reason to go and engage. There's got to be a hook. There's got to be something that is more attractive than doing something that is a thrill.
I also think there is ask of the business community.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
For creating job opportunities. I mean, I was allowed to drive after midnight when I was 17 because I worked at a movie theater and had a permit to drive after after hours because I had to drive home from the movie theater, right? So I think there's like creating a purpose and opportunity for youth to like have gainful employment and opportunity and develop like a resume and the thing of like when people go into a life of crime, like they're trying to make a living essentially, and it's like you can go one way or another. You can go this straight and narrow and do the right things, or like the bad guys get you, and then that's just you're in that cycle of that's how you make a living is in that dark world. So I think there's an opportunity to capture youth that might be, at that fork
I,
Um,
I agree. Systems that promote, development and responsibility are
so like working at Nats Park or working at Capital One, working those games, you get to go to the game for free? Kidding me? And like that's like giving people gainful employment and responsibility and saying like if you get caught jumping the fare gates at the metro after work, guess what? You can no longer like participate in this program. So it incentivizes like I get to go to NBA basketball games for free. Cool. And get paid and like have things to do in times where the opportunity for trouble is more prime.
I mean, all of those are incentivizing. Let's not ignore the prospect that some kids are reacting to uncomfortable domestic situations.
Right.
And that's a big one because I remember being 15 and making like everything is so intense. E- Even things that we don't think much of, it becomes very big, very important, and that's where they are hormonally, I mean, and developmentally. They're still quite young emotionally.
Courtney,
And yeah,
doubles at the movie theater on Christmas and Thanksgiving because I didn't
yeah,
want to hang out with my family.
there you
So I
go.
got paid time and a half for being at the
Yep.
movie theater when I was 17.
uh,
So
You've had a lot of good
seriously,
movies.
Emily,
Yeah.
your hand is
got to
up.
watch the movies for free and got to see them a day before they came out, by the way.
I was enjoying the discussion, Rick. Um, Janelle, your points are really well taken too. I I really do feel that we have to be very generous of heart. I was robbed in front of an ATM on a good old bank in front of good old Bank of America, and they actually handled it very well. But I worked with the police and investigators to counsel the young man who was apprehended, but not taken, his freedom wasn't taken away. But they worked with him to get him back in school, give him positive reinforcement for continuing in his work, and to have activities and have some mentoring. And he was eventually completely, exonerated of all what happened. And I wrote him a letter telling him that I congratulated him on how he was moving forward with his life and that I completely forgave him of all that happened. I believe in these kids. I used to work with them, and I think it's very important to give them a chance. And that's why I mentioned going and talking with the people in the Youth Commission, because we have to have an entire community approach to this. It isn't just one thing here and another thing there. And we have to believe in the possibility of these young people to get their life back on track, but they need guidance. I love the program of Big Brothers. I don't know if we have a good one around here, but it was great in the community where I was working. And it made all the difference. These kids just, they straightened right out and did so much better. Anyway, these are suggestions. I really don't think though a little bit here and a little bit there is going to make a big difference. A little rule or a harsh rule, it's not going to make a difference. What we have to do is build personal relationships and support these kids.
That was a good story, and I agree with you. It's if you don't feel like you're a part of the community, then you'll prey upon it. So
I agree. That was a really great story. I will take a stab at drafting a letter, both in support of the two access to recreational facilities, and maybe I will add a bit about maybe expanding like the Marion Barry Summer Youth Jobs Program to make it run full year or things like that. I will take a stab at that. I'll draft it and send it around to everybody. I will say, I do realize we're like slightly over, but I will just go back to the Parker bill of Parker package of legislation. Part of the Parker package of legislation does one of the bills that we actually dealt with at my real job was the Pay Our Youth Fair Summer Wage Amendment Act of 2025, which would raise the DC minimum wage for youth employees to $10 an hour for those ages 14 to 16, and the full minimum wage for 16 and older for people participating in the Marion Barry Summer Youth Program. There are some other, bills that kind of deal with CFSA and understanding that not in often cases, the home might not be the best place for kids. But it also, there's a bill here that would require CFSA to notify outside caretakers if they feel as though, a child in a home the child's home is not the best place for the child. Now, alternatively, there is a bill promoting parental engagement and DYRS Amendment Act of 2025 that would require DYRS, which is the Department of Youth Rehabilitative Services, who runs the DC Youth Detention Center, that if the home or the parents, I should say, is a good place or they are good influences, gives the parents a little more flexibility to be a parent to kids that are in detention facilities. So I put it in the chat earlier. I'm not sure if anybody had a chance to look at it, but I think we could even combine the two letters and make it one and just say, if you merge these, you might have a good program on your hands.
I think that's a good idea, Adam, actually. Really a good idea.
All right. So if there's nothing else on that, I will take a stab at that. And I don't think there's anything else on the agenda.
You're not trying to do that for Monday's meeting, are you?
I don't have to.
I don't think that's feasible.
I mean, I don't think so either. It wasn't my intention to.
Okay.
Emily has a question.
What?
Sorry, what was that?
Oh,
Emily has,
I have my
Oh.
hand up again. I'd like to ask
All right.
a difficult question. I am absolutely shocked in this time that we have something like 1, 2, 3, 6 of us on tonight, when we should have many members of the community here concerned about the same things. I know people are concerned. Why are they not coming to these meetings? What is wrong with our neighborhood that we don't have a fuller interest and response to the needs that we have? We have huge needs, and we've only touched the surface of it in the discussions today. Why is this? That's all my question is. Perhaps you can explain it to me.
may I take a stab at it? Just
Yeah,
that
sure.
right now, I think so many people are under so much duress. That's my only
Mm,
somewhat explanation for it. And with the types of pressures that we're facing from the recently fixed government shutdown, to travel, to expenses, to even the crime itself, or even the incidences and safety, it's just, I think people might be overwhelmed. And one of the ways I think that we could possibly get more participation is to have an in-person event, which is a lot and it's a pain. But again, it just, you don't want to feel like you're preaching to the choir. You're trying to remember the things that are important to you, but be cognizant that there are other things that might be going on that you want to mention and address, but you can't because you're not another person. This is a very, I mean, Adam, thank goodness for Adam, because he keeps having to remind me. It can slip. I spent most of the day job seeking, which is extremely
Mhm.
debilitating after a while. It just is. It's a whole litany of emotions and effort, and it's exhausting. And so before I knew it, I took a walk and came back, and I was like, oh yeah, the meeting. So honestly, I mean, I think just there's a lot on people's plates, and maybe it would be helpful to have something in person that was, I don't know, but that's a lot to ask. I love Zoom. We could do things, but it would be nice if we could meet in person, I think. Hold it open to the public or make announcements in the library or something. I don't know. That's just my off the top of my head.
Thanks.
I mean, all of this is open to the public. It's very challenging when it's put on one or two commissioners to do logistics work behind this and everything else that we do, to do in-person things. Um, so it would be nice. It's just like a lot. And I personally feel like I try to take on enough to fill my spoon. And if my spoon gets too full, I will do none of this well. And I like celebrating little wins. And it's
Mm.
really up to individuals to decide for themselves how much they want to participate in government and how much they want the government to participate in their lives. Like, we're not given like a writ large list of email addresses for everyone who lives in our commission area to like blast them, right? They have to opt in to getting our messages or going to the listservs and like looking where we post there, or, like looking, like I can't go breaking into everyone's house and being like, "Hi, what do you think?" Um, but I think that like people decide like what they're capable of and what they're interested in, and then decide like, okay, here's like Emily, you're doing a good job of it tonight. Like, here's how I can contribute to the conversation, right? And not feeling like you're obligated to do too much, and like not feeling like I didn't do anything. So it's like there's like a balance there. And I think, Courtney like also comes at it from a very good perspective of like, I'm only going to take on what I can handle. And sometimes like the things that we do like are wins and they make you feel really good, but there's like some work that might have to go into that. And it's hard to feel like you're falling short on like things that you said you would do. And that's why I personally like will again make sure I'm not overfilling my spoon. Which is a Tammy Gordon quote, who probably got it from somewhere else, but just want to give her credit where that's due. Give her flowers.
Well, I want to emphasize to you, Janelle, that I'm not at all blaming you or anybody else.
Thank
We're
you.
commissioner, not at all. That's not it. It's more the question. It's a rhetorical question a little bit, but it's really profoundly a real question to overcome the pain that we're all in and to move forward with strategy. We have to create neighborhood. There has to be a sense of community. And people will support each other if they feel a an openness and a belonging to an entity that we think of as community. And I think that that's something that is lacking and needs to be rebuilt. I think it was better a few years ago than it is now, but we should try to do that and do something. I'm not sure exactly what to do. I've asked that really for your input as to what you think is happening, what is stopping people. I think that the reasons given for the complexity of our lives. I'm working like mad. I work internationally. I don't just work here, and I'm busy, busy, busy. But I care and I'm concerned about my neighborhood. I love this neighborhood, and I don't think things are moving forward the way they should on an interpersonal level. I think some very major efforts were made. I like the idea of the meetings presential meetings, of having a meeting, for example, in the library. There have been various library meetings that have been filled. So that's not a bad idea at all. I know that everybody's been making a huge effort to make the Cleveland Park and especially Connecticut Avenue welcoming. But we have to do something to have people want to be involved. These are critical issues that we're dealing with. And I mean, just the very issue of youth, that is a huge one. But there are so many other things as well. So anyway, I leave that for everybody to ponder. I don't think we should work any later tonight. I have to get back to my work. But I really do appreciate you all. And I just felt comfortable in asking this question because I have been puzzling over it. Why isn't there more participation? And thank you for all you do.
Well, Emily, thank you for that comment. It's
Thank
really
you.
a good comment, a good summing up, and as you say, some questions for all of us to ponder. A good way to close.
And I do appreciate the feedback because I will say, as an ANC, it's not every day that somebody comes with a compliment.
You guys are well
I think-
appreciated.
I think
If
you're
you-
all wonderful. I think every single one of you is great. And I wish that we had, 50 more of you here. This is the thing. At any
I
rate,
see Mitchell has his hand raised.
Thanks. Sorry. Well, I don't mean to interrupt the high fives all around. I definitely kind of concur with them, but I wanted to throw out there one thing that's on a public safety topic in the back of my mind, file it also into the category of things we can ponder. On our last public safety meeting before this one, the MPD officer, I think it was also Lieutenant Johnson, presented the crime stats in more of the traditional format that he does in these meetings where he highlights trends. And I know that he was really busy tonight and didn't want to, sort of add too many questions to his plate. But he did highlight that there had been a lot of downward trends since the increase of participation from various federal partners, totally putting the immigration issues aside, I'm not talking about that right now. And I'm concerned, especially when we hear about the persistent issue of vacancies at, in sort of unfilled MPD positions. And I think the last time that we asked the MPD presenter, he wasn't sure if the crime lab had received full accreditation. I think, they've made progress there. And even if they were reaccredited, I don't know if it was full or if it's up and running. I guess, long-winded way of saying that, what can our public safety group do to help try to lock in the gains and the crime reductions that have occurred lately once the federal resources don't continue at the same pace. I mean, I read online that the National Guard deployments in DC are costing somewhere around $1 million a day. And so that's not going to continue forever. And whatever you think of them, there's reduction in crime that's accompanied them, and that's obviously beneficial and in fact squarely within the purview of why this public safety group was created. And so I just wonder what this group could do, in within our remit to try to proactively, help whoever it is, the mayor's office or MPD or sort of like whoever is required to listen to our letters, to take measures that would, kind of like allocate resources before the local resources before the federal ones dry up to try to lock in gains and reduction of crime. I think that's important. And I wonder, if we could all kind of think about how to do that. And I'm willing to do work around it, but I just haven't thought a lot
Yeah,
about it.
I mean, I'd welcome your ideas on that.
Mhm.
Couple of things. First, if folks haven't seen it, there's a good article, forget whether it's in the Post or the Times, but I'll look for the link, about the mayor's interactions with the
Mhm.
Oh,
in the last few months, including with the White House chief of staff, and agree or disagree with her decisions, but it's a fascinating article. And
Mhm.
um, to the point about walking in games, I mean, personally, I don't doubt that some reduction in crime overall in the city, including in areas that are more characterized by persistent violent crime than ours. Some of that is due to, I think, in stepped up cooperation with some federal agencies. I think a lot of people question, how effective the Guard has been part of that. And, many people think even, that the Guard being deployed is a waste of their time and resources overall. I think a lot of the decrease that we've seen in the city, and certainly in this area, is due to, focused effort of MPD targeting some of our retail strips where we've seen repeat crime.
Mhm.
I think the patrols on Connecticut Avenue have made a real difference.
Mhm.
And great deal of credit goes to Captain Haskis, with Councilmember Furman's encouragement. That's an area where I think we do need to concentrate our focus to push that, even as cities go through tougher budget years,
Mhm.
maintaining those foot patrols on Connecticut Avenue and ideally expanding them to other commercial strips, either in or adjacent to our area. That's important. It reduces crime. It benefits business, makes shoppers feel safer. It increases, I believe, trust by the community and MPD, community police engagement. So that's one area definitely to focus on.
Thanks.
I placed a link to the DC auditor's report on that was from September of 2024. That is MPD needs to improve data analysis, targeted deployment, and more detectives. So you can read that 459-page report, but the summary basically concludes that they need to focus on solving crimes, which goes to the DC crime lab, and those things, and getting like a lot of the people that are criming are committing multiple crimes. Like, get those off the streets and you're going to have less crime fundamentally. So you invest in more detectives rather than deterrence, like these patrol officers and stuff, where you're just having people go stand around and like whatever. But if you're investing in the detectives that are solving the crimes and getting the criminals off the street and getting the convictions, that results in less crime. Like, so that's the crux and the conclusion of this report. So having just more officers on the street isn't as effective as like you all seem to like be thinking it is. Sure.
Yeah. Well, I think,
The ultimate thing is investigating the crimes that have occurred and arresting the people who committed them.
yeah.
So the investment is then in that arm. And that's what you see that the auditor thoroughly like went and outlined like here's what needs to happen with this. And that's the point of an auditor.
Yeah. I agree with much of what you're saying. And I see it as complementary, and
Mhm.
I wouldn't for
Yeah.
a moment say that it's just about shoes on the street. Although I do think that police visibility and, yes, walking a beat is important in certain areas, but good management means that headcount has to be selected and deployed carefully. And so it's not just investing in rookie police officers. It's investing in hire skilled and yes, hire wage detectives.
Well,
And we
that's
have to
where
solve
the improved
crimes.
data analysis and targeted deployment comes in, a lot
Well,
more
sure.
detective. So it's all in the report. I perused it at some point when it first came out. And the police union hates it, so I just assume it.
Oh, that's good to know. I won't.
By
like
the
that.
way, the Department of Forensic Services, their biology and chemistry units were reaccredited in 2023. Their fingerprint unit was reaccredited in January of 2025. And the last department, the firearms examination unit, is working towards regaining its accreditation by January of 2026.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up, Siri.
All right. Well, thank you very much. You've all given me a lot to think about, and maybe it's something that we can continue to revisit so that,
For raising the questions.
yeah.
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 That's a full report on that 400.
Yeah, right.
I downloaded it, so
Oh, God.
I know.
At the end
I-
of each section, there are clear recommendations by the DC auditor. So if you only like read like a bit of the fronts and ends, and you can have an AI bot like probably do a pretty decent summary of the document.
As soon as Courtney said she downloaded it, I know I'm going to get 6 questions by next week. So
I won't
mute
do
me,
it to
Courtney.
you.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at how different the world looked in 2024 just by the images. So I mean, it was a whole different ball game just a year and a half ago. So it's kind of weird. But anyway,
Mhm.
I'll check it out. Thank you guys so much for everything.
Thank
Very
you.
thoughtful discussion tonight.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.